Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be looking at some key exam skills to help you be successful in your Power in the People AQA GCSE History 1066 to present day. So today what we're going to be looking at is we are going to be looking at historical causes and impact. These are key skills that you need as a historian in order to be successful, and you can apply these to the 4 different exam style questions that come up in the Power in the People exam. So let's get started. Before I get into explaining the difference between cause and impact and how you can apply that to your exam questions, I want to just remind you of this table that I showed you in the last video. So this is the why things change table, and we refer to this at the end of every single lesson, and we see what themes or what factors we can apply to each event or person or thing that we study. So I filled this one in here for Simon de Montfort, and it focuses on the role of the individual, and basically it's saying that Simon de Montfort was an influential leader, that he was attractive and appealing to the people who were lower down in society in 1265, and that is one of the reasons that he was so successful in taking down Henry III and being successful at the Battle of Lewes. Now you can see there's loads of other factors there as well, like war, religion, chance, politics, communication, which I'm going to mention in the next part of the video where I talk about causes and impact of events. So I'm going to start off by explaining causes of events. Now, a cause is why something happens, okay? Really straightforward. The reason why a protest or why a law might have changed. Now, in Power in the People, we study from Magna Carta in 1215 right up until present day, and there are lots of different reasons as to why events happen. Now, I'm going to do a video on how to answer the exam style question, and it's really important that you get used to identifying why events happen, and then also I'm going to explain in this video the results, the impact of these different events. So when we talk about causes, these can be things that are building up over a long period of time. And then there can also be something that is a trigger that, Okay, so causes of events. This is why something happens. I've got that in the orange box there. So a cause is what leads an event to trigger, to start happening. And as you can see on the ideas table, I know it's a lot smaller here, but I want you guys to get used to using that table to identify why things happen and the impact, and I've got a slide later on to show you how you can use it for that. And today we're going to focus on the Magna Carta. Now, there are 2 ways in which an event can happen. There can be longer term causes, and then there can be a trigger. So when we talk about longer term causes, this could be things, intentions that are building up over a long period of time. So it could be the fact that, for example, if we're looking at the Magna Carta, the fact that the barons were getting annoyed at John because he introduced scutage, the medieval tax, and he raised that 11 times. So that was something that was being introduced over a long period of time that angered the barons. Again, with the Magna Carta, you also could mention a longer term impact was the war with France, and that John had lost a lot of land in France, and that was something that was building up because obviously the barons, the people who were higher up in England, were having to provide money, and they were also having to provide knights to fight in those wars. So a cause is why things happen. Now I've put a match there, and I'm going to explain a little bit more in a second about why I've put that there. So I've put a match because you can have your longer term impacts, but then your short term impact can be one short thing that leads to, for example, an outbreak of war, or that leads to a protest like the Pilgrimage of Grace, for example, like the Peasants' Revolt. So I'm going to explain a little bit more and linking it to the Magna Carta. So as we know, the Magna Carta is the first event we look at in Power in the People. And you can see here that I have put that little domino picture there to help you remember and think of causes. And I've chosen to explain causes of events and impact of events in a video with the Magna Carta, because I think it's really important to look at how Magna Carta can be referred to throughout the unit. And I've got a slide at the end which I will show you why I've chosen this and why that was my thought process behind that. Now, Magna Carta, as we know, was signed in 1215, and it was forced upon King John by the barons. Now I'm going to show you my Magna Carta why things change table in the next slide, and we will talk through how we can use that table to identify causes of events. Okay, so you've got your causes of events or why things change table here. And as you can see, I have filled it out. As you guys know, in class, we have this at the end of every single lesson in your booklet, and we fill out what factors we can link to the event we've just studied. So I've got this in my lap here as well, so that's why I'll be looking down. So I have managed to fit that into 3, 4, 5. Put it into 5 boxes. And you can see I've labelled here causes. So let me go through there. So I've put it in war, and I've said that John's failures in war and the taxes he raised to pay for the war made the barons want to bring King John under control. And again, each of these factors can kind of think of it like a thread that they can link in with one another. They've each got different ways in which they are similar about how they link, okay? So just bear with me and I'll come back to that in a second. I've also put it in religion, and I've said that the barons were angered because John did not accept the Pope's appointment of the new Archbishop of Canterbury, and this led to church services being stopped in England. And again, you can always link that back, particularly in the medieval period. Religion was really, really important to people back then. They weren't as educated. It was a way of controlling people who were lower down in society. So it's really, really important, especially in kind of all the points we look at in medieval. So in this, and as well as the Peasants' Revolt, religion's really, really important. So it's just worth mentioning that as well. And I've also put it in economy. John introduced a tax called scutage for his barons to help pay for his expensive wars in France. He raised this tax 11 times, and I mentioned that earlier on. At the bottom, I've put in that it's challenging royal authority and that it's the development of rights. Now, I'll talk you through those in the next slide because they are impact. They're like a result of what happened because of Magna Carta. So you can see here that I've labelled them, the causes, and it's just worth getting used to filling out this table for every event that we look at, because as I said in my last video, when it comes to structuring your essay, your 16-mark essay, it's really, really good to see similarities between events. And being able to structure those paragraphs. And as I said, I will make a video on how to answer the 16-mark question. Okay, so now that we looked at the causes, why things happened, why the barons made King John sign the Magna Carta, now I want to think about the result, the impact of events. So a lot of historians talk about cause and consequence, or cause and impact. So cause, why things happened; impact, consequence, basically means the result of it, what happened because of that event. And I've chosen, as I mentioned earlier on, I've chosen the Magna Carta because it's really, really important. It's something that we can refer to throughout the other events we study in the Power and the People unit. And it's also a really good example of that can be used in the significance question and how historians kind of view it today. So your impact really is the result. So I'm going to show you now on the why things change table how we can identify the difference between impact and cause. Now, it's important to note that certain events, for example the Magna Carta, can impact on other events, and I'll explain that on the next slide, and that links into the significance question, which I'm also going to make a video on for that as well. So for result and impact, I've put that at the bottom there, and I've labelled it in 2 boxes. I've said that it's in challenging royal authority. This was the first time that a king's divine right had been challenged. So when I said earlier on that each of these can link in with one another, you could definitely link this in with religion. So it's just worth mentioning that. And then development of rights. This is kind of looking at longer term impacts and significance of the Magna Carta. So I've put in development of rights. One section of the Magna Carta said that all men have a right to a free and fair trial. It also said the king was not above the law. Sections of the Magna Carta have been used in different historical documents throughout history, like the American Declaration of Independence, and you could also mention there the UN Declaration of Human Rights, or the UN Convention of Human Rights, that was created after the mistreatment of so many different people during World War II, or after World War II and the Holocaust. So the Magna Carta is hugely significant, and as I said, I'm going to make a video on how to answer the significance question as well. So going back to what I said earlier on, at the end of every lesson, it's really important to look at each event and see how you can link it to this table. Once you've linked it to the table, then you can go back and you can identify if it is a cause of that event happening, or if it's a result, something that happened that came out of that event. And this is a really, really good historical skill. Those of you who want to be going on to do A-level history, who want to be going on to do it at university, you can also apply it to other humanities subjects as well, like ethics and in English as well. So it's just really, really good. It's a really good skill to have. And yeah, so I would definitely say use this, get in the habit, even if you're not at our school, and if you want a copy of this table, I can put it as a Google Drive at the bottom of this lesson, in the comments box or in the description box, and get used to filling this out, because it will also help you with structuring your different answers as well for the different exam style questions. So I'm now going to talk to you a little bit about the longer term impacts and consequence of the Magna Carta. Okay, so the reason I chose Magna Carta to explain cause and impact was because it's something that you can refer to throughout the whole Power in the People unit. So I've got a picture of a snowball here, and I'm going to use that to explain the significance and importance of the Magna Carta. So it's not just important at the time for why it happened, but when we're talking about impact, it has a lasting impact throughout history, and particularly throughout the Power in the People module. So it spans over 1,000 years. As you know, it was signed in 1215, and it's been referred to in a number of historical events and documents since the time. So, as I said, it was signed in 1215, and kind of the first impact you can think of there is that actually it was reissued 3 times in the 30 years after John's death, because John died 1 year after the signing of the Magna Carta. So, I'm using the snowball picture to explain the importance of the Magna Carta to you. So you've got a teeny tiny snowball at the top of a hill, and as a snowball, if you've got a tiny snowball and you rolled it down a hill, at least in cartoons, as that snowball rolls down the hill and it gathers more snow, it gets bigger. And that's almost like the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta was signed in 1215. However, as time went on, so imagine the top of the hill being 1215, the bottom being present day, 2021, the significance and importance of the Magna Carta, of that one document that challenged the king, has gained more momentum, has become more important. So there's a number of reasons for why it's so important, because it can be referred to throughout history in different events. So for example, it paved the way for Simon de Montfort and the barons to challenge John's son, Henry III, and challenge him at the Battle of Lewes, and led to the establishment of the first parliament. That's really important. Again, that's something we refer to throughout the unit. It was used to restrain and challenge Charles I in the English Revolution or the English Civil War. So again, that challenged kings, challenged that idea of divine right of kings. Some historians could argue that it inspired the American Revolution for them to become self-governing. Parts of the Magna Carta are actually quoted in the American Declaration of Independence from Britain. Again, really, really important that it's part of that. It was parts of the Magna Carta are in the UN Declaration for Human Rights, or the UN Convention for Human Rights, that was signed in 1948 after the atrocities of World War II, after the war crimes and crimes against humanity, after the Holocaust, and that was signed in 1948. So the impact that I want you to think about is that this one document that was signed in 1215 led to centuries of change, and it's something that we can kind of refer back to throughout history. So that's why I chose Magna Carta. Thank you very much for watching, if you made it all the way through. If you've got any questions, please comment underneath the video and I'll get back to you. Email me, guys, if you need any support, and enjoy. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video.